protest. Joining me now, Victorian Liberal MP Tim Wilson. Tim, great to see you tonight. Let's unpack what's going on in Victoria. This roadmap that the Premier says is out of date was in today's Herald Sun. It indicated that Victorian restrictions would be the first to be eased as part of Sunday's roadmap. What are your thoughts?
Well, I think it's extremely disappointing that he's outlining a roadmap that says there'll be at least another 2 weeks of the hard lockdown stage 4. And I think what people want more than anything else is clarity and certainty, particularly in small business. I know when the stage 4 measures came in, we had a huge volume of questions because there were inconsistencies, there wasn't clarity about how different things were, and so people couldn't make basic decisions about hiring staff, restocking their business, etc. And so I think he needs to provide a much clearer sense of clarity for Victorian small businesses as well as households coming this Sunday, because I think that's what people are desperately looking for. And they're looking, frankly, for hope, because people don't want to be told we're going from stage 4 to stage 3, only back to stage 4. They want to know that there's a real road ahead.
Well, Tim, the biggest COVID story in the country in the last 24 hours has been a woman in Ballarat who was supposedly inciting some sort of rally. She was arrested by police. It's gone crazy. It's a big, big story. But of course, the Premier's not across it. He says he hasn't seen it, doesn't know anything about it, so he didn't really comment on it today. What did you make of... Many people are suggesting that it was probably a little bit over the top by Victorian police.
Well, I think the Premier is being completely selective. I'm absolutely sure he's aware of it. I'm absolutely sure his media advisor said, oh, you do realise there's this viral video that has gone global, so not just in Australian media. It's in the BBC, it's on Russia Today, it's on media outlets everywhere in the world. The idea that the Premier wouldn't be aware of it is frankly farcical. He would have been aware of it. He would have been aware of the fact that it was the police. They were being heavy-handed. She obviously posted something about protest, and that the argument is that was an incitement to protest. But I've got to say, I just find it all hypocritical by the state government. I mean, don't misunderstand. I believe people should follow the law. That doesn't mean the law can be wrong. It can be, but people should follow the law. But we had the Black Lives Matter protest, 10,000 people hit the streets. Daniel Andrews did nothing. He barely even condemned it. And then since then, we've had protests in Broadmeadows of people saying we're sick of the lockdowns. They got arrested. We've now had this woman inciting a protest also getting arrested. There's clearly one rule for Dan Andrews' mates and his supporters, and a different one for the rest of us and the rest of the Victorian population.
Now, Tim, I know you're a proud Victorian, and as such, one of your religions is the AFL, is Aussie rules. But I think one of the great symbolisms to come out of this particular pandemic is the fact that Victoria has lost its prized AFL Grand Final, and it's coming, of course, to Brisbane on October 24. I guess there will be a lot of people in Victoria. The first time in 121 years it'll be held outside Victoria. I think that in many ways, the symbolism of that suggests to me that Daniel Andrews has lost the fight against this particular virus.
Well, truthfully, it's a complete kick in the guts for Victoria to lose the grand final. You know, it's a national sport. We know that. We're proud of the fact that the footy code that was invented in Melbourne took the nation. But it's always been part of our tradition that the grand final is in Melbourne. We even have a public holiday. I mean, I think the public holiday is a bit odd, but that's separate. And to see us lose it under this Premier and under this government because of COVID-19 and their mishandling of the situation is a real kick in the guts for Victorians, because it's, of course, set a precedent that can be easily replicated. Now I wish Brisbane well. I hope they have a fantastic grand final. But the pride, the dent in our pride as a state is extraordinary. And it's a consequence, it has a huge consequence in terms of the pride I think we'll have into the future, sadly.
Tim, just before we go, we've got National Cabinet tomorrow. I sense the Prime Minister is fast running out of patience with state and territory leaders when it comes to borders. There's a lot of criticism going around, certainly in Queensland and I'm sure in WA, about this hard border stance by their leaders. But of course, we know why they're doing it, because they've got polling which suggests that it's incredibly popular. What are your thoughts?
Well, I think it's complete false comfort for people in those states. At some point, we're going to have to come together as a nation and manage the realities, because they're not just locking themselves off other states, they're locking themselves off other countries. And I think the Prime Minister, my interpretation is that he is frustrated. As a country, we have to find a way to come together. And believe it or not, we got some, I guess, almost bizarre support in the past 48 hours from Paul Keating, who made the argument that if you want to have a nation, a national economy, and a sense of purpose and unity for the nation, a retreat to nativism, which is what we're seeing from some of the state premiers because it's deemed to be popular, is not something that should be congratulated. It's also not something that's not sustainable. And this is the most important thing about every measure we take with COVID-19, is that they need to be sustainable, because while we hope there's a vaccine, we can't guarantee it. And so we have to set up measures and processes that will be sustainable into the future, well beyond the next few months.
Tim Wilson, it's always great to see you on Sky News across Australia. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Peter.